we always are advocates of layers of security. John, what can you tell us?
Well, no matter how many layers you put in, basically the story is you're not necessarily guaranteed to be protected. Right. So I actually have my low-tech analog tablet here. Matt's got a digital nice one. But there are a lot of numbers, so I want to make sure I got the facts right here. But FireEye and Mandiant, in conjunction, because now they're kind of one and the same, they were reviewing some data between the October 2013 and March 2014 timeframe, about a 6-month timeframe, for about 1,600 networks that their devices cover. 97% of those had some form of breach. Now, it could be botnet, that's not all APT, but some form of botnet or exploit attempts against their enterprise. All of these companies did have some sort of defense in depth. So they had firewalls, they had IDSs, IPSs, they have endpoint antivirus. So it's not like they just have one type of solution. They've got layered security. Even with all that, 97% of them were compromised at some point for some length of time. They saw 208,000 malware downloads in that time frame and 124,000 unique malware variants, which is pretty impressive. But nowadays we know that they're so rapidly recompiling and changing the malware samples that that's not necessarily surprising to me that it's so oftenly changing. The one other interesting thing was that 27% of those participants that they collected this data from did experience events that would be consistent with tools and techniques that APT actors use. So that's important. The long and short is, for your general security, having just some regular type of security layer would be sufficient. Having a more defense in depth, at least it gives you some time to evaluate what's going on, and maybe one of these devices will pick up part of it that's happening. You'll be able to kind of stem the tide a little bit, and cut off the attacker before they are able to do any kind of damage.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right here. There's when I think of layers of security, I think of it as an opportunity to buy some time.
Right.
That is, as an attacker is going through, if it truly is a layer of security, they're going to bump up against one thing. That's an opportunity to detect it and be aware that there is a threat, that there's motivation, that they're looking for weaknesses, and that would be the opportunity to find ways to passively observe. That is, one of the factors and we, in fact, we went through a discussion on a similar topic last week, where I think Stan was talking about the malware that disabled the network interface to help avert from being analyzed. Well, we know that the attackers are testing their wares, their attacks against the commercial security products, and they're looking for ways around those. And to the extent that they're doing that, it's that passive analysis activity. Of course, we're analysts here, so I tend to be biased toward the analysis approach to things, but I think it's an important factor, and that we'll call it the kill chain, credited to Lockheed Martin, where they said what you're looking for are the sequence of events associated with an attack, and each one of those is an opportunity to take it down.
Right.
So very important that you have the layers to buy some time so that you can detect it and do have an opportunity to block it before the attack becomes damaging.
I was going to ask, the 27% that saw APT techniques, did they elaborate on what techniques those were?
They did not elaborate, at least not that I saw. And it's also, I'm not quite sure, just because the techniques and tactics are APT in nature doesn't necessarily mean that it's a nation state actor.
Right.
However, there's probably a good amount of those that are nation state, because they tend to manifest themselves in a more unique way than your regular malware on your network when you do see.
Tend to be a little more specialized, although
Right.
I think that the distinction in terms of techniques, I think, is probably going to be continuing to blur. That is, as the non-nation state sponsored attackers get more focused on specific monetary methods. We've seen an awful lot of cases where like Zeus has become more specialized or focused on particular targets. There isn't really a strong distinction between the two. I think in the end what it comes down to is the type of target they go after, the type of information they steal, if that's the case, or what actions they perform is going to be the real strong distinction between the two.
Right, right.